always do a fundraiser for having lost my dad 3 years ago to leukemia, and then we lost Danny Ball at 32 last year, and he was one of our music acts that we do. We've always done a sort of music fundraiser, and this time I thought we'd try something different. And I've always gone banger racing, I've always been into banger racing. Never tried it, and then we sort of had a chat with Steve Anscombe, or Cecil, one of the drivers, and he can produce a banger for you, 2-race spec, takes it all there for you, and it was about £400. A lot of local businesses suddenly then, Regan from Alpha Structures, a friend of mine, just suddenly said, I'll pay half of that as sponsorship, so you have to do it. So from there it was like, it went from just an out loud thought to happening quite quickly, really. And yeah, that was the sort of theory behind it. There wasn't any sort of, didn't set out with a deep intention of doing it. It just happened that sponsors came on board quite quickly after that. We're here at the Arlington Raceway. Got my Bloodwise t-shirt on. We've just been asking them about the racing on the 29th, and I'm racing for Bloodwise for Danny Ball and for my dad, courtesy of Cecil Drake the Rookie. Hello. And yeah, come the 29th we're going to be racing in car 709 in the banger division, and it's just had confirmed we can do a collection around the track. Yeah, Bloodwise was the charity we chose because of the it was leukemia and lymphoma research up until I think earlier this year or the end of last year, and then it changed to Bloodwise, and it incorporates all the blood cancers now. So we just decided it would come under that banner now, and so hence that's what we did, and yeah, we managed to raise in the end about £500. So that was really good, as well as the car was all paid for as well. So yeah, we didn't have to use any of the donations from people to cover anything. It was all done through sponsors. Just behind me there's the track. This is what I'm going to be going around with about 40 or 50 other cars on the day. So we'll see you a bit later on when we're looking at the car build and when we're in the pits. So see you soon. Cheers. So the day when we got to Arlington and the car came in, it was just amazing to see the job that we'd done there. I mean, it was immaculate, and the paint job on it and everything else on it, and we just logoed it up from there, and it just really looked amazing. It was really exciting. So it's DW Audio. Don, he's here today to watch. We are sponsoring Bloodwise today in memory of Danny Ball from my dad. Perfect Day Photography, Mel's there. Got a Scooby snack. Knowing everyone knows what I'm like from my burgers and everything else. And all the other sponsors on here: Scrapco, Munro Productions, Dan himself, QMS, Cecil. Huge thanks to Cecil over there with the truck. There's 2 of us racing today, courtesy of Cecil. So nervous beforehand, and the lead up to it, it's just like, yeah, it's not something I've ever done before, and you never quite know how it's going to feel when you get hit. So I was yeah, nervous probably is an understatement, really, just beforehand, but it was good.
How do you feel?
Alright, good.
Yeah?
Yeah, at the minute we'll wait till we get out on the track. First race was, I think, actually just getting in the car to start with was pretty nerve-wracking, and then getting belted up and getting used to that, and then, yeah, I think once it was time to go and line up, it just sort of, I was sort of fairly calm, really. Going out on the track was a bit special, really. I think the first time you sort of hit the accelerator on the track, it's the first time I'd ever driven a car properly, so you don't get practice laps. That's the funny thing that people don't understand with it, is if you've never driven on a track before, you just go straight into the first race. And the first time it is the first time you've driven the car, so it was very much, you don't even know it's going to accelerate, really, because you can only do sort of 5 mile an hour in the pits. So yeah, I pulled out onto the track, and it was just, from there, everything really it's still a bit of a it's a bit of a blur really, because as you're lining up, I found out I was very near the front actually, which was probably not where I wanted to be, but because of all the advertising and everything on the car, in fact with Bloodwise they put us out very close. I'd had all the instructions from Steve and Spike in the pits to say, make sure you stick on the bumper of the car in front of you, flat out in first, then drop it in second in front of the grandstand. Their flat out's probably a bit different to mine, in honesty, because you're not used to the car, you're not used to racing, so already I was dropping a little bit away, and then I got the first clatter in the back bumper, probably on the pit bend on the first lap, and that certainly wakes you up a bit then, and you still accelerate. But once they're there, and then I sort of got round that the first warm-up lap, and then got spun into the wall at the far on the Hailsham turn, and I felt that was quite a bump. And the problem was, as it turned out, I couldn't restart the car because part of the subframe had actually gone into the engine and it wouldn't turn over and kick in. So it was like race over pretty much as soon as it started off my first connection with the wall, which was a bit gutting really, because sitting watching it from the infield wasn't what I had in mind really. But you've got to learn, and it is a that's why I'm going to do it again, just from the fact that I know what to expect this time. And certainly when I've got those first few hits up the back, and you don't realise how much you're going to get shaken about, even though you're harnessed in. But it was an interesting first race, and ended up leaving on a tow truck. So yeah, all good. We had some, in between there was some work to do. Obviously they had to tie one end of the car to one end of the truck, and the front end to the other, to pull this piece of the bumper out of the engine, and they were a bit concerned about damaging the sump as well while they were doing that. We managed to do that. Car fired up straight away as soon as it was out of there. Lined up again quite near the front for the second race, which was not really what I intended. I was hoping to go to the back and just sort of feed in a bit and just sort of get into it a bit more. Again, this time it was, we got round the first lap. I was a lot quicker in the second race. It certainly felt like it was a lot quicker. And coming down to the pit bend on, I think it was the second lap, I got taken in by one of the drivers. I think it was Jack Ansell actually. And fortunately, I went in backwards, so I managed to eventually get back into the race again. Problem with that was I got back into the race, and I'm not at race speed, so I got taken back out of it pretty quickly again, and this time it smashed the driver's side wheel at the front on the curb on the inside, and whilst I was trying to get back in the race, I had absolutely no traction, so again I had to pull off onto the centre, and so my race was over. I think that was on about 7.5 laps that had gone. I didn't do 7.5 laps, but it was again it going backwards into a wall was another weird feeling really. You're not quite sure how it's going to be when you get hit, but yeah, I think I managed to find out what it was like to get spun and stuck in walls and stuff, and it was we had an interesting couple of races there anyway. I went out on the track again. I was all ready for race 3 because they had to change the wheel and the front suspension, the rod or something on it, because that got damaged when the wheel had been done, and so we basically went out for race 3, and there was a long wait on the pit on the start line, and because a lot of other cars are getting ready and getting sorted, and whilst I'm sitting there, I'm fiddling about. The steering felt a bit bizarre as I went to pull away. It felt a bit tighter than normal. And whilst I'm fiddling, the harness they give you, or they put in these cars, is like a 4-point harness, and it's got a very, very easy to release clip on it. And I caught the clip in my sleeve and undone my harness. So I'm basically had to pull into the centre to try and sort that out really, but unfortunately it's so tight you can't loosen it from everything. Well, I was turning the steering wheel, but it didn't feel like the... And then I flicked my harness off. You don't fucking do that, do you? Yeah, I didn't know whether it was steering or not. When I've just pulled it in then, getting round into the pit lane, I really had to like... The car's drivable. The last race I did about 300 yards, so it's absolutely fine. And because we had all of the sponsors' logos are still on it, and we decided that we can take it out again really. So having said I wouldn't do it straight afterwards, I'm going to take it out again next Wednesday, 21st of September. We are, it's September's Children's Cancer Awareness Month, and we do have some links with some children who are currently going through different stages, sort of stage 4 neuroblastoma. And so one of them's actually going to be there next week. Ruby Laura Young's going to be there next week. She's at the stage where she's had an operation to remove hopefully what is nearing the end of the disease in her now, and she started school and everything, so hopefully she's going on the pace car next week with a little brother or a bigger brother Freddie, and so it's nice to have her there as well. There's some representative. We're doing it for My Shining Star charity. It's a new charity that's just literally been set up. I'll go right in front of my face, and so you'll see a little blue elephant around in lots of different places now. They've just tried to set up on the back of Ruby Law. Also, there's a young lady called Hayley who's 4 up in Ipswich, and lots of other children as well. They're trying to help the families. It is a very difficult time when they're going through the whole sort of journey with child cancer. It's not always good stories. There's lots of sad stories as well. So the key is to give the family some support in that as well, and the siblings as well. So they have just raised enough money to become a charity. So this will be one of their very early events, and hopefully we can get some good awareness out there and do it again, have a bit of fun as well. Because this time the car's not coming back really. Whatever state it's left in after will be then put straight into a crusher, and that'll be the end of it. So the more I can do to help that process, the better really. So that's it really. So yeah, I'll let you know how it goes, because I'm a little bit more nervous. We're going to actually crash it this time, but we're going to do it properly this time.